Okay, it's starting the live stream. Ah, and we've got Pawan here as well. Hey, Pawan.
Hi. Hi. Oh, sorry.
All right. And we're live streaming. Here we are. It's the AsyncVoter meeting. Yeah, we've got Matt and Raphael and Paolo and Pawan and myself, Sam. And here we go. Okay, so, well, we seem to have reached a kind of a bit of a difficult impasse in terms of discussing the project. I guess I don't know, it seems to have got a bit emotional. I'm feeling a bit negative about the whole situation. You know, we could try and make further progress discussing it in person. I don't know about that. I've kind of got to the point where I think, like, I don't know how much progress that's going to make us. Matt, what are your thoughts at the moment?
Well, my first thought is that I had several ideas, and one is that I'd be willing to, like, kind of mediate things, and, you know, just my idea was to maybe try to define just one, you know, small next step to do. Yeah. And then Raphael and I can go, you know, talk about a little bit about the architecture, you know, try to come up with the next step, and then, you know, then I would bring that to you and mediate a little bit, just because, yeah, it's a little too emotional, and I just hate to see people unhappy, and
yeah,
you know, I had a few suggestions like that, and I can even, you know, I'd rather even not us not get into, like, talking about the architecture today, or
no. Well, I mean, you know, like for me, I would love to, for example, like Paolo had this suggestion, or I think you identified, Paolo, that the you know, we've got security holes in the, like, existing app, like, that's on production, right?
Yeah, there's one task or bug.
Yeah, where basically all of the connections go. So I mean, you know, for me, I would love to just, like, maybe, you know, just go and work with Paolo on that and get that done. You know, obviously, I think, you know, key thing, like, I feel like at the moment, like, Raphael and I are talking at cross purposes completely, and my sense is that Raphael's got really upset that I've torn his ideas down, that, you know, that it's, you know, AsyncVoter is not a safe space to share ideas.
No, I don't think it is at all.
And that's, I guess, yeah, I feel that there's a big misinterpretation there, but I guess I'm not sure. Yeah, as you say, Matt, I mean, what's the right way to deal with that? I'm not sure. But so
my idea was to work separately, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think that sounds like a good idea to me.
I'm not calling it kids, but when my kids write, you know, sometimes I have them go play in different rooms. Yeah, you could work on that. Raphael and I could work on something, but, you know, we're not going to merge anything into master without at least temporarily everybody agreeing, you know. Something like that.
Yeah, it's yeah, I know. I guess from my point of view, I just say how I'm feeling is that it feels like, you know, obviously Raphael are finding it difficult to get along. It feels to me that there, you know, one of the important things for working together is the assumption of good intent on the other person. So for me, I assume, like Raphael, that you're, you know, you want to do good stuff, you want to move the project forward, you know, that you're in a quite a stressful situation, and, like, my attempt to discuss the ideas is, it seems it's come across, you've been really frustrated by it, but I kind of assuming good intent there. But when you say things like
frustrated,
shame on me for tearing down your ideas, I guess I'm kind of, I guess we've got past the point of you assuming good intent on my part.
Well, when you tear down an idea that is due for discussion, before we've discussed it. You might be totally right in what you're saying, but you've just torn down everything I've said without actually hearing me out. So you've created a straw man of what my argument is, or whatever it is that I'm saying. You've created your own opinions about it, and you haven't actually listened to what I've got to say and the benefits of what I have to say and the motivations for what I have to say.
Right.
We're not in a classroom situation, so just to say, no, that's wrong to somebody, when you don't understand what they're saying, when you haven't reviewed their code, you haven't reviewed, when they've done considerable amount of work, it just comes across as being very rude.
Okay. No, I hear that. I guess for me, the kind of you using the terms FFS for fuck's sake and so on, I mean, your behavior regularly comes across to me as extremely rude, and I work hard to try and not react to it. Like, I am not criticizing your ideas. I think
you are criticizing my ideas.
Well, I think if you think that, then you're misinterpreting me, and I'm also at fault because I obviously haven't expressed them clearly.
No, I think.
Hold on, Raphael. Like, when I put that last diagram in, right, that's not meant to be a replacement of your diagram and saying your diagram is wrong. That's meant to be me trying to move it to a higher level and saying I think we need to agree something at a higher level.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, but you seem to react extremely negatively to that. Go on.
No, that's not what I was reacting to. I was reacting to there's all this kind of fluffing around and trying to be nice about it when it's just like, well, okay, here's what I was thinking. You don't have to give me I mean, it's just a drawing tool. I don't really care.
Right.
I've only used it for convenience.
Sure.
And I put it up, and then there's all this, and I'm just like, I just think when you say things like, I just find this a common pattern of behavior. I'm getting treated this way for no reason. So, and I've observed it on other channels. I've observed it in other interactions. So if I get upset about that, it makes me like, why am I doing this voluntary work? I mean, I'm not a paying member.
Yeah, I mean, I would question
like I've got something I can contribute.
I would question like why you are doing the voluntary work, because you seem to get very upset at lots of things that I say. Now, like, this is maybe maybe this is down to my poor communication skills. Like, but please, like, 2 weeks ago, you had another kind of big upset, and you said, right, I'm going to leave the project. I'm not going to be involved.
I didn't say that. I said I was considering leaving the project.
Right. And I mean, like, if this is so upsetting, I would sort of say, please don't do it anymore. Like, it's, I really want to, I understand that you're in a different situation. I want to help, and I want to enjoy doing the project together. Like, and for me, I don't know, maybe I'm completely getting it wrong, but I thought we were having constructive dialogue about, kind of like, I think there's like a fundamental misunderstanding between, you and me about, like, when I say misunderstanding, I mean, we're using the words in different ways, like about how REST and microservices and WebSockets work. And so there's a room for both learning on both sides for us both to kind of come together and do that. But you seem to be really, really upset about the way in which I've done it, for which I apologize. I mean,
I'm just upset that I have, before I've expressed an idea, it's shocking. That's what I'm upset about. It's not upset that it's not going this way, it's not going that way. It's just that certain things that I think are key and vital to the project. And I can demonstrate those things with references, with experience, whatever. Maybe in a single diagram doesn't encapsulate all those things.
Sure.
But until I start talking to you about that diagram, I can't. And to be told no.
Right, but that seems a strange thing to me. Is I'm not saying no to you. That's the weirdest thing to me, is that you seem to be saying like that something in the text that I wrote here and about the diagram that I put in was saying no to your diagram, and that was there is absolutely not my intention. And if you've interpreted that way, I'm perfectly willing to take at least partial culpability of I've expressed myself poorly. Like, I thought, yes, we had a meeting yesterday. where we were discussing a diagram and we were going backwards and forwards, and I talked about, oh, could we make that shareable for editable? And then I sat down this morning to have an edit of it, and it seemed like, oh, I can't edit it. I can't like make a copy of it and leave you with the original, right? So in order not to kind of like
that's fine,
impose my ideas too strongly on your thing, and also in response to what Joao said overnight in the channel, I kind of made a different diagram based on diagrams that I put on earlier, and I don't know. To me, it just seems like logically incoherent. You're saying I've said no to you before you've had a chance to explain the idea. I haven't said no to the idea. Where do you get that idea from?
Well, okay, there's a number of reasons. Firstly, what Joao said is, excuse my pronunciation, but what he said was valid, but it was valid 6 months ago. And I thought we'd moved past these points. And people like Aresh and I, when we worked, these points were well understood. So for me, for those things to be brought up again, absolutely. But I mean, I bring up, and it's just, I wonder why we need to distinguish REST and WebSockets. And then we had this argument about REST and WebSockets, which I don't know why we're arguing about that REST and WebSockets. It's just communication media. But if you're going to correct me about something, at least get your facts straight before you correct me.
Well, see, this is where
and you said I want a microservices architecture, and then you said I want a distributed, a centralized architecture. Those two things are not the same.
I think. Well, go on, Matt. Go on, Matt.
Yeah, can I just speak for a minute? You know, I guess we've obviously haven't gone my route of, you know, not talking about the architecture today. So after we got into it, it's apparent to me that you have fundamental differences that can't be resolved in like, other than like maybe, you know, an hour of sitting together and agreeing on terms and
maybe so.
You know, I'm not seeing a lot of point to this as a third party. I'm not seeing a lot of, and just listen to me, I'm not seeing a lot of point to this discussion because it's more.
No, it's clearly like, I mean,
same.
It's either for and Raphael and myself to work out between the two of us. It doesn't need to involve everybody listening, or not. I mean, I guess it's a question about whether that's you know, even worthwhile.
I just don't think it's worthwhile. So you know, there's some choices. We can just decide to work separately a little bit. We can decide to have a meeting, maybe just the three of us, you know, and not bother Raphael and the new person.
I think an architecture meeting and discussion, I think, is exactly what's needed, and talk about these conflicts.
But do you think it's going to work? Because my other idea is it just seems to reoccur, and I don't want anybody to blame anybody else. Don't say it's that I can sense like somebody saying, "Well, you're difficult." No, you're difficult. No, you're.
Well, you know, but I think I want to take full culpability for, you know, maybe not communicating as effectively as I could, and maybe even communicating poorly. I mean, I think that, you know, the what's frustrating is, you know, I think the problem that the Raphael and I have is that we're using different terms, and if we're both assuming good intent on each other's part, then we kind of can calmly work out the meanings of the terms and come down to a conclusion. I mean, the big thing that's frustrating from here is that, you know, Agile Ventures, right, which I have put thousands of hours of free time and my life savings in to set up, is designed to be a friendly environment. Now, I may well fail to do that at different points, but also fundamentally, AsyncVoter as a project that I conceived and I'm bringing in to try and support the community, I personally am getting to the point where I've lost my patience, to be perfectly honest, Raphael. Sure, you may have 20 years of industry experience. I've got 35 years of industry experience. We could both be, if we were getting on, maybe doing wonderful things together. But I have to say, the level of anger that you're expressing and so on, I just don't particularly want, you know, I just don't want to deal with this, right? I don't know. I don't know why. Do you want to deal with it? Why don't you go to a different project? I mean, it's like, what's the big attraction of you to be bumping heads with me over this for, right?
Well, it's for the project, Number one, I'm not wanting to attack. I don't want to make any personal attacks, but I do feel like sometimes I get stomped on, and I think other people have the experience of getting stomped on. I'm very passionate about AsyncVoter because I believe in your idea, and I believe in what you've done. And I've read Fallow Day, and I do read your aims and your goals, and I take aims and goals very seriously, and I'm fighting for what I feel to be some very reasonable and sensible outcomes and structures regarding that, and things that are workable, you know, in an asynchronous and you know, service-oriented and especially microservices-oriented way, which leads me down a few pathways, which I don't think you're not quite aligned on. And there's a tension there. And
I sense that we're getting some agreement here, but then, Sam, you said you've kind of lost patience. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's great to hear from Raphael that he likes those things, but just say at the moment, it's got to the point where this is like, I couldn't sleep last night because of the kind of, the whole thing. It's like, it's really, now I would say, what I saw is like, I should completely disengage from the project, right? And just let you guys get on with it. At the same time, it's like a really important part of the whole Agile Ventures framework and setup. And it would seem to like derelict of my duty to like the organization that I'm not there, you know, and involved in it. So I'm kind of caught in a quandary. I mean, what I would love to be doing now, rather than spending half an hour arguing with Raphael, is I'd love to spend half an hour just working with my friend Paolo on, you know, a simple little fix. I mean, I just feel like, and we've talked about this before, Raphael, that you're in an extraordinarily stressful situation at the moment, are you not? Like your personal situation?
Well, I don't really count that as being part of. I mean, so are you. Like you're imagining.
I think my situation has actually calmed compared to where it was. You know, but what it seems to me like, I don't know. I would encourage everybody to. Everybody to read the discussions in the AsyncVoter, and I think people like. I think, you know, there's absolutely room for me to improve how I communicate, but I don't know. I think it gets to this point of like, you know, a code of conduct. We're doing these activities as groups of volunteers for fun, and if it gets to a point where it's not fun, right, then I think we have to. And we've had this before in other, you know, we get Thomas dropped out of one project because of, you know, his conflicts with another person. There was, you know. It happens in projects.
I just my big frustration with this project is that we can never seem to agree on some basic fundamentals,
right?
Until somebody else implements them. So you have this committee of people saying how things should be done. Then you have a few people implementing those things. And usually one or two of those people have some kind of other architecture in mind.
Right.
You know, and so they're building this separate little architecture, and then you want that to relate back to the original architecture. And I think the original architecture is such a genericized form, it becomes difficult when you're then dealing with an implemented form, and how should they communicate? And what I'm really concerned about is, in terms of software, is how should we make these systems communicate? And I think that's a much more interesting question than any kind of personal disagreements we may have.
Yeah, but I think
both can exist within the same context.
I would say that the difficulty that I now see there being, right, like if we could have a calm and rational discussion about the, you know, the architecture. I mean, I think there's different layers, right? There's about how the communication operates, and then there's like, you know, what the macro structure architecture should be. Like if I felt like that we could carry on having calm conversations about that and resolve them, I think that would be great. But the pattern that I'm seeing is of you, Raphael, getting extraordinarily upset at me, you know, and we can say, oh, that's like due to my failings, that I'm a poor communicator, or I'm not taking you seriously enough, or whatever it is. But I'm just seeing that pattern going.
Well,
And
I don't think I'm extraordinarily upset.
Go on.
I just don't think I'm as extraordinarily upset as you may be interpreting me.
Well, that's how it comes across when you say to me that you've been desperately offended by the core business model of the Agile Ventures. When you're using terms like FFS,
by the core business model.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I've never said I'm desperately offended.
You have. You said that you were offended that we'd offered you sponsorship for premium membership for the,
that's a separate conversation. So, and I don't appreciate you bringing it in now. So,
but I'm sorry, but it's part of.
If you want to go down that path, that's a path of argument.
Not in a school class. Where
Exactly.
AsyncVoter is this thing. We're in a big picture where there's a lot of people putting a lot of time and effort to make the whole of the Agile Ventures available. You said to me that you only care about the code and that you don't care about the surrounding other bits and pieces. And that, I find that extraordinarily offensive, and it does make it difficult to interact with you. And so I'm trying to have a calm and rational conversation with you in AsyncVoter about the architecture, but then we get to a point where, potentially we're making progress, and then you kind of blow up about it. Like, it seems, personally, I really don't want to work with you, Raphael. I'm sorry. And I would prefer, personally, I've got to be honest about it, I would prefer that you weren't involved in the AsyncVoter project. I'm sorry that it comes down to that, but it just, I'm finding this extraordinarily difficult. I'm sure that there's lots of like poor quality on my part. I'm not handling it well, or I'm failing to communicate effectively, but I'm just really questioning, why are you involved in the AsyncVoter project at the moment? Why are you volunteering your time for Agile Ventures? I mean, you said before that you kind of believe in I don't know, if you believed in the vision and all of these things, I would have thought that you might be politer to me when we interact.
Yeah, can I now interject?
Please, Matt, go ahead.
Try maybe to be a little bit of a judge here and say that I don't really see a good solution here. So the only solution I see is maybe for Sam to work a little bit with Paolo and me to work with Raphael a little bit for a week and see if that works. But I'm not really even hopeful for that. So I'd say we just.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to be honest.
Sorry, Sam, I've just sat here and I've listened to what you're saying that I've said.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, I don't like having people putting thoughts and words into my mouth out of context. I'm being very specific. I'm being very here and now. I'm talking about what's happening here.
Yeah.
If you want to go on a side conversation about that, if you want to say that we said this in private and we said that in private, then I'm sorry, I'm not going to engage.
But I would say, please don't, Raphael. I would just say, look, I think for the AsyncVoter project, I think it needs to be kind of mothballed at the moment. I think we've reached an impasse. I personally, like, having started this project, I'm really not appreciating your input into it. Right? I know that you're saying, like, you don't want to bring in all these other things, but I can't.
But you haven't listened to my bloody input.
I'm sorry?
So what's the point? You haven't listened to it.
I think I've been trying to engage with it. This is what I'm saying. Again,
you're just going on and you're going on and you're going on about how crap I am.
No,
no, that's not the case. I think we've reached the point where we just can't continue this project right at the moment.
I'm sorry. I do find it offensive to be attacked. I find it offensive to not be listened to. You're pressing buttons and you're not expecting a reaction. So all I would say is, here is something proposed, rather than say, thanks, Raphael, look forward to discussing it with you in the meeting. We have to do this, and we have to do that, and we have to do that. And it's just like, well, that's not even consistent with your own words about what the project is. So I'm happy to have an architecture meeting and discuss the architecture of the program. I don't want to be involved in environment management. When I talk about microservices, it involves a lot of environment management. I've already stated that I don't want to be overly concerned with it.
How about we have plan on doing that next week?
I think from my point of view, it's
if people don't want to go, they just don't go, and Raphael, it's really Sam's. He's in charge of his company. He founded it. he doesn't want you writing code. You know, if he's not going to merge your code in, you know, I don't
think it's a question of like merging the code in or not. I mean, you know, like I just, you know, I think we've got to a point where like Raphael and I clearly can't work together. You know, I mean, I think that there's a route where maybe on a different project, you know, like we have other projects in Agile Ventures, like SHF project and Met Plus and so on, where people are working with their own clients and they're working completely independently with me. And if we disagree about the architecture or we, you know, this, that, and the other, they can completely go off and do their own thing, and we don't have to agree, and so on. We've got this situation here where we've got AsyncVoter, which happens to be an important infrastructure part of Agile Ventures. And so I think, you know, I'm not optimistic that Raphael and I can agree. I mean, I think you know, I definitely hear what you're saying, Raphael, that you didn't want. Like, I guess what you would have preferred is that rather than me responding to you in Slack with feedback on your thing, you would have rather that I hadn't said anything in Slack and just left it until the meeting. And I can see that probably would have been, you know, a better approach. It seems that my comments were inflammatory, and it's meant that you know, things have spiraled out of control, which is saddening for me. But I feel like that you know, it's got too heated and it's got too personal, and it's a real shame, because there's, you know, we want all of the projects to be friendly, happy places where people can share ideas and people can like say, well, I like this and I don't like that, and so on. I think we've had this like terrible misunderstanding, which is really unfortunate. So I think we should take a break maybe from doing open meetings for AsyncVoter, and I think, I don't know, I'm looking forward to maybe trying to do like some little things with Paolo at some point, but yeah, I think we need to draw a line under the project there at this stage for Agile Ventures.
Well, okay, that's drastic.
Yeah. I mean, and I have to. It's like this thing, Raphael. Like, you know, I really appreciate you coming in and bringing in energy and trying to do positive things, but it's kind of, you know, I just.
So there's noise in somebody's background, and I can't hear you when that noise is happening.
Okay, so that's Pawan. I've just muted him. But so, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's just the whole thing has become really kind of quite traumatic for me at the moment. I don't know about for you, Raphael. I would say, why don't we both take a break from this project, right? Yeah. And you know, I think maybe other people, if they want to do things related to it, but you know,
Paolo's going to be away for a week anyways. So.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be away for 4 weeks and so on. But I think I just say, Raphael, it's difficult. It's difficult to control. It's like, you know, I want everybody who comes into Agile Ventures to be treated with the utmost respect and consideration, and you know that we're all assuming good intent on each part. You seem to have come in. I mean, maybe this is me but it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're sort of expecting a certain level of support. You know, a certain level that people will respond to you in a certain sort of way, and so on. And it's kind of like yeah, if it was a school or it was a framework where you were paying, but I don't know. It just seems.
I don't think your assumptions there are correct at all.
No.
No.
I guess we will have to. We've reached an impasse where we will have to just agree.
I mean, you've declared an impasse. I haven't, because I don't even feel like we're just arguing about arguing now.
No. I guess that's it. I'm just saying, like, I'm not convinced that if we sit down and have a discussion about the architecture that we're going to get anywhere. Because I think if I try, the way that you've reacted to my suggestions suggests that we're not going to get any further. Anyway, I've got to go off and take my kids to soccer now. I'm sorry that it's come to this, but I just say, Raphael, I really don't want to work with you. I'm sorry, I really don't. And I'm sorry.
I don't think it's going to work either. I mean, it's
a lot of time into this. You know, I mean, maybe we need to move towards a different thing for Agile Ventures, where we have some sort of clearer covenant about what the you know, expectations are on both sides. I don't know. And I totally, you know, I take my full share of the blame for, you know, managing the communication ineffectively. My apologies for that. Okay.
Okay, I think that's it. I mean,
yeah. Apologies, Matt. I didn't necessarily run to your plan. I really appreciate you trying to like mediate and manage, but yeah. I'm sorry. I guess it was. I don't know. It was at least important for me to be able to say some of the things I said. I hope Raphael said, was able to express his feelings as well. But
well, we can chat a little bit. Maybe there's, but I'm not feeling like it's worth doing. Nobody's going to work on it for the next week, and if something miraculous happens, it happens. But I'm not trying, just to get my personal view. I'm not feeling. I want to work on my event manager thing, and
sure.
So I got other things something else I want to do. So maybe everybody else really can kind of do something else.
All right. I guess we'll leave it there for the moment.
Okay.